So for this morning's class, we only need the block. Very handy. I just happen to have one here. And we're going to start in child's pose. So if you're a bit stiff in the knees first thing in the morning, you can just place the block underneath the posterior. But we're going to take the wide knee version, so hopefully that'll be a little bit easier anyway. And I always take the first sort of minute or half a minute or so, just getting the knees and the ankles to open up a little bit, getting some length in the spine. So I'm not sort of slouching down, I'm actually drawing the belly in and lengthening the spine out of the pelvis a little bit to get some lift. I'm taking a few deep, long, slow breaths, get the ribs and the diaphragm working. And then I can start to walk the hands out, which are about shoulder distance apart. And I'm aiming to get the head all the way to the ground, but if not, you can always bring the block underneath. Just give a nice stretch into the ribs. And start to draw the belly in a little bit. It's almost trying to direct the tailbone to the opposite end of the mat as the hands stretch out in front of you. And then we'll take it over to a side bend to the left. So just walking the hands out. We'll stretch the fingers of the right hand just an inch further forwards if we can. Increasing the stretch down the side of the body is what we're looking for, right down into that hip connection, feeling it from the armpit down. We'll take it across the opposite side. And again, taking that little step with the hand further forwards. Opening out the shoulder blades, muscles underneath them, as well as down the side of the body. We'll come back into the center and lift up onto all fours. First cat-cow, so just drawing the chest forwards, just a few rounds, rolling the shoulders back, and then the spine round out, see how that feels. A little bit of pressure into the shins. We'll come into a neutral spine and take melting heart. So keeping the hips over the knees and walking the fingers forwards and getting a nice line between the hands, the shoulders and the hips. So a straight line rather than a collapse down towards the floor. I'm going to press the hands into the floor, press the shins into the ground, and try and lift the hips up towards the sky. Very unlikely that the knees will come off the ground, but it's going to get a little bit lighter. You can definitely tell this is an early morning class, so yawning my head off. Last breath here. And then just using the fingers to walk in. So moving the hips back gently and then bringing ourselves back up onto all fours. We'll take our first down dog of the morning. So just leaning in a little bit, tucking the toes underneath and easing the knees away from the floor. So we can walk out the feet a little bit, making sure that we take that hip distance apart approach for the feet, that parallel. And we'll choose to steady ourselves and walk the fingers in towards the feet. So come into the back of the mat. Just for a fraction of a second, taking a breath here. And exhaling, folding down. And then bringing the hands onto the hips. Into the chest forwards, draw the belly in to lift up and shake it all out. Coming up to the front of the mat. And then we'll slowly draw the arms up towards the sky. Hands in towards the heart. Exhale low and slow forwards. Just taking care of the first couple of rounds with the legs. So putting plenty bend in. Letting the ribs sit on the thighs. Hands on the hips. Lengthen forwards. Draw ourselves up. Inhale up. Drive through the legs. Exhale down. Hands on the hips, chest forwards, lift. Inhale. Exhale down. One more time. Lengthen it out. Ease it up. So we'll take your arms out wide. A little bit more weight into the lower back as we lift up. Hands into the heart. Exhale down. And take the arms out wide. Arm flat back to the lift. And as we come to the floor, we'll take the step of the left foot back into the lunge. We'll drop the back knee down onto the floor. Bring hands onto the thighs to lift up. Allow yourself to take the arms out to the side. Could take a little breath. Palms facing forwards. We turn the body gently towards the right side. So keeping the spine upright, just rotating around. And then coming back into the center. And opening up. So we'll open up the groins quite a lot. Bring hands back across the mat. Inhale to the sky. Reach the hands up towards the ceiling. Draw the belly in. Get long through the body. And then bring the hands back down to the floor. We'll step it back into a plank. Half plank. Up dog. And then roll it into our down dog. And then we'll draw that left knee in. Bring the foot through to the front of the mat. into the lunge. Press off the toes into the forward fold, get a little bit more length in the body this time through the legs. Hands onto the hips and let ourselves lift up. Take the hands skyward. Hands through the heart. Exhale down to the floor. We'll take a little breath here. Right foot back. Drop the knee. Untuck the toes. Hands onto the thighs, we lift up. Take the arms out to the side. Take a little breath. Turn into the left. So going across the body. Trying to keep the hands in line with the shoulders and the body as upright as we can do. Come back into the center. And exhale it round to the open side. Back to the center. Right, take the hands up towards the sky again. Draw the belly in, lengthen the spine up out of the pelvis. Bring the hands to the floor. Stepping back into the plank. Coming forwards, half plank. Taking up dog. And easing into down dog. Draw the right knee into the chest this time and bring the foot through. Into the lunge, strong back leg. And then we'll just press off the toes to the forward fold. Hands onto the hips, ease our way up. Inhale to the sky. Exhale down to the floor. Weight into the toes a little bit. Bring hands onto the shins, halfway forward. Exhale down. Hands onto the shins again to lift. And try and broaden through the shoulders as you lift up. And hands onto the shins, letting the back of the legs open out. Come down for a last time and step it back into down dog. From the down dog, we bring the toes together on the center line. We draw the left knee in towards the chest. We're going to take that knee to the outside of the left wrist and bring the heel underneath for pigeon pose. Slide the right foot back as you land. Draw the hips square. So you might notice you kind of roll back a little bit onto the right hip. Draw that forwards. Allow yourself to lift up out of the pelvis, so there's very little weight in the wrists. So long hold here. We'll be here for a couple of minutes. First minute we're going to be high. And then we're going to come down onto the elbows. Keep lengthening that back leg out. Keep the head in line with the rest of the body. Now, if you want to come down lower, if your knee and your ankle feel okay to do that, you can actually come all the way down onto the chest and lengthen the hands out in front, palms down. Or you can stay in this slightly higher version with the elbows underneath the shoulders. If you're taking that version, then you try and broaden the shoulders out so they're not wrapping around the ears. And you're still lengthening out through the right leg. So if you've gone down on the floor, you need to come back up onto the elbows and then bring the hands all the way in Everybody's going to lift back up. So you can tuck the toe on the back foot, draw the belly in. Lift the knee first, draw the belly in, roll the shoulders back so everything's lined up nicely, and then we lift. Otherwise, it's quite a lot of strain in the lower back. So you don't want to dump into it if you can avoid it. Stretch that out. And then we'll draw that right knee into the chest. Take that to the outside of the right wrist. Slide the left back. Square the hips just that little bit. It's a tiny little movement of the left hip forwards after you've lengthened the leg out. Lift the body high. Shoulders are broad. Head is in line pretty much with the spine. Seeing how those knees, ankles feel in the hip. So in this version, when you're lengthening out through the back leg, this glute on the left side will feel like it's lifting just a little bit. There'll be some activity in there, which we want. We're stretching out the hip flexors. So come down onto the elbows, still lengthening out through that leg. So you'll feel the muscles around the quads working a little bit. It should be easy to draw the belly in. Again, broaden out through the back, wide shoulders. And we'll bring the hands back to elbows, and then from elbows, hands underneath the body, shoulder distance apart. We're getting ready for the down dog, so we tuck the toe, press out through the heel, activate the belly a little bit, shoulders roll back, lift slowly back into the down dog. I'm going to stretch it out for a couple of breaths, and then we're going to come forwards into plank. Lower ourselves down to the floor, taking Sphinx pose. So we'll come forwards. Now you can lower the knees if you wish, but if you're able to just bend the elbows back into the ribs and lower ourselves down. Bring the elbows forwards. Take the feet about hip distance apart, toe in, heel out. Belly draws in, palms press down, shoulders are wide. So get as much length and height in the body as you can. Thighs into the floor, toes away. Now let ourselves come down to the ground. We'll bring the hands right to the bottom of the ribs and then lift back up into tabletop. So on an exhale, lift up on the inhale. Bring the knees back underneath, a couple of rounds of cat-cow. Draw the chest forwards, roll out through the spine. Inhale forwards, tucking the tailbone under, letting the spine follow. I'm going to take ourselves back into down dog. Just leaning forwards as we tuck the toes underneath and pressing the hips back and up. As you arrive, take the feet out as wide as the mat. And then we'll move the feet just enough forwards so that the heels can reach the ground with straight legs. And make sure you keep pressing the hips back and up. We'll take the right hand off the floor and draw it across to the outside of that left ankle, turning the body under. Trying to keep the legs straight and the hips over the center line. Belly drawn in, nice and tight. And then we'll release. Hands to the floor, take a little breath. Over to the opposite side. And bring the hands to the floor. So we're stepping back into the regular down dog. Step out the legs. Just walking them out easily. We're going to take Scissor Dog. So come back into a nice square position. Taking the left leg high, tiptoe. Let the hips open out a little bit to the side. And just making sure you don't buckle into that bottom right arm. And bring the foot down again. And we'll take it over to the right. So once you've lengthened out the toes to the sky, come up on tippy toe the opposite foot. Try and keep the leg as straight as you can as you draw it up. And then bring that foot down to the floor as well. We'll come into a plank, lower the knees directly underneath the hips. We're going to take it into thread the needle. So we're going to take the right arm up to the sky and up towards the ceiling. Bring that through and float it underneath. Shoulder to the ground. Keep a little strength in the left arm. Press away from the floor. Inhale up. And exhale it down and under through. A bit of creaking through the spine. First thing in the morning, always a good sign. Taking it up and under. One more time. Lifting up. All the way through. And this time we'll just lift onto all fours. We'll take it over to the left side. So inhale the arm up, big breath. Exhale it under. Take it to the sky. Forward and under. Take it to the sky. And last lift. Back onto all fours. Let's swing the toes out to the side for Dandasana. So letting ourselves take the legs out in front. Flexing the toes back, sitting up nice and high. Just going to roll the fingers into the floor for a little bit of support. Really try and open the chest out. We've done quite a lot of work going the opposite way. So just going to try and compensate for that. Pressing the sitting bones down to the floor. And then we're going to take the block. Just place that behind. Let ourselves sit back up onto that. And take a seated twist. So legs out in front first. Sit up nice and tall. Just get onto that front edge of the sitting bones. Draw the right foot under to the left hip, knee pointing forwards. And then wrap the left leg over. And we're simply going to draw the leg in towards the chest. So we're a little bit more working on this TFL than we are the rotation of the spine. I've kind of woken that up already. I'm going to try and lift up nice and tall and draw the knee in a little bit. So using some strength from the arm and the shoulder to draw that back in towards the body. And then we'll release. And take it over to the second side. And then foot flat to the floor, sitting up nice and tall. Wrapping the left arm around the right leg and drawing into the body. And release from there. Lengthen the legs back out again. We come back onto the floor, so just shifting forwards a little bit. Lengthening the legs out. I'm going to take my right foot, just have the hand underneath the shin, draw it across the left thigh. So I want the shin to be away from the knee, so the shin is closer towards my body. And then as I let my right knee down to the floor, I'm just going to flex my foot. We're going to come into a seated figure 4. So I'm going to take the hands behind a little bit, shoulder distance apart, draw the shoulders back so the chest lifts a little, drawing the belly in. Just letting that right knee sink down to the floor a little bit, although the right foot is completely flexed. So it's keeping a little bit of tension there. And then I'm going to draw the heel in so that the sole of the foot is on the floor. I take that as my first stage, see how my knees and hips react. If it feels okay, I can shift the bottom forwards a little bit and walk the hands in a little closer, and then reaffirm lifting up the chest and broadening out through the shoulders. And then if that feels okay, come a little closer. Then reaffirm, upper part of the body, belly drawn in. And then maybe a little bit more. You never know. And release. Lengthen the legs out, untangle. And then we'll do the whole thing again. So just moving my bum back into the block so I know where I am on the mat. Left leg comes in, hand under the shin is the easiest way to draw it across. You can see what you're doing clearly then. And then flexing that left foot. So take a little time to understand what a flexed foot looks like. Quite often you can't see it when you do it. We'll take the hands behind, lift the chest. And just let that left knee drop a little bit. A little bit of a squeeze in the shoulder blades. And then we'll draw the right foot in, so the sole comes to the floor. And then lengthen out through the chest. And if that feels good, we'll ease it forwards a little bit. And then get the lift and the chest also working. It's quite strong on the right thigh when you're shin is pressing down into the quad. So hopefully that's not just purely the focus of what you're doing. You can distribute it around the body a little bit. And we'll see if we can move the legs in a little closer. And then we'll see if there's any more. Really working on drawing the chest up. It's easy just to focus on the legs. Let's see if we can get that body to constantly feel like it's lengthening out of the pelvis, getting longer. And the shoulders just drawn back a little bit. It's a minor squeeze through the shoulder blades. And then we'll release from there. Take it back. I'm going to move the block all the way to the back of the mat and just bring the knees up whilst the hands come back and roll down onto the spine. Walking the feet in towards my bottom. Take the arms out wide. And I'm going to take the right leg to the sky. Cross that over and see if I can feed the foot around the back of the calf of my left leg. Bring my foot to the ground and then just roll that gently over towards my left. It's not going to go very far because the legs are bound quite tight. I want to keep the shoulders on the ground. And draw that back up. Untangle the legs. Shake out that right leg. Bring the foot down. And then do the same with the left. So lifting up, crossing over, and then seeing if we can get the foot underneath the calf. Now, sometimes we can on both sides. Sometimes we can't. Struggling a bit this morning. There we go. Feet back to the floor. And then over to the right. Sprung back out. And then we'll lift back up. And untangle, shake out that left leg. Move the block away from the head, so flat to the floor again. Bring the hands alongside the body. And I'm going to just walk the heels in, but a bit hip distance apart, so toeing in slightly. And I'm going to allow myself to wriggle my hands down towards my heels. And then draw lower back into the floor. Now I'm going to make little robot arms, so the arms are right next to the body, and then I'm going to bend at the elbow, so the fingers now point up towards the sky, and I'll spread the fingers out a little bit. I'm going to start to press the back of the arms into the floor. Draw the belly down into the ground as well, so the tailbone lifts, and then start to lift the hips up towards the sky, and then gently press into the back of those triceps with the strong robot arms. We'll take a breath at the top, and then I'll ease the body down, but I'm still going to try and keep the same amount of effort going through the arms, pressing down. I'm not going to let that disappear. Take a breath, roll through the body, and lift up. So by keeping that constant pressure through the arms, you're going to feel a little bit more heat, and there won't be any rest in the bridge pose. We're going to come back down. Take a breath at the bottom. Roll back up. His arms get tired quite quickly. Just not something that we do very often with our arms during the course of the day. They get fatigued quite quickly without being able to move anywhere. And then lift in for the last time. And then as you do, we're going to release the hands back down to the floor underneath the body, interlace the fingers, roll the shoulders in as much as we can, and then lift the hips a little further, draw the knees forwards and bring the chest towards the chin. You're going to try and keep the weight going through the feet evenly, so be conscious of how you feel on the ground. If you're rolling into the sides or the toes or the heels, you know you need to distribute the weight a bit through the legs more evenly. Last breath. And then we'll slowly roll back down again. As your spine comes into the floor, we'll take another twist. We'll take the arms out wide again. This time we're going to keep the knees together and walk the feet out as wide as the mat. So this is the scissoring version. Legs will go to the left, head to the right. Let's see if we get that bottom leg down on the floor this time. And flex the feet just a little bit once we arrive. And we'll lift the knees and let them float over to the opposite side. So if you need to reset the feet around, you can do. And once that bottom leg gets on the ground, you flex the feet just that little bit. Feel the difference through the legs and into the lower back a little bit as well, as everything starts to lengthen out a bit more. We'll take the knees back to the center. And as you do it, we're going to bring the block underneath the back of the head again and let the knees come in towards the body. We're going to take Happy Baby. So I'm going to keep a nice long spine. Let the knees go wide. When you're ready, we're going to just draw the chin in towards the chest. Slide the fingers down the shins. Take the hands around the outside edge of the feet, so a little toe area. Keep the knees low. And then slowly bring one sole of the foot skyward at a time. And then roll the spine down into the floor again. Let the head relax back down. So just a little bit of effort going through the hands to draw the knees downwards. Try and get the tailbone to lie on the floor. So a little bit of work through the pelvic bowl to draw the muscles downwards. And then we'll slowly bring the soles of the feet together again. And let the hands come back to the knees. And then support underneath the thighs as you bring the feet back down to the floor, soles still touching. So the feet are already in position for a pose called Subtabada Kanasana. So the soles of the feet together, the knees are out wide, spine is long, and the hands just come out to the side. So closing the eyes, we try and let the knees roll down to the floor. The heels quite close to the buttocks. First of all, let the shoulders soften off, so they'll wriggle, maybe moving the neck around carefully. And then we're just going to start to work on breathing in through the belly. I'll take the hands underneath the back of the thighs and just press the legs back together gently. And then slide the legs out to the corner edges of the mat. Let the feet roll out for that final few minutes at Shavasana. So geared up quite a lot on the hips today and trying to get an earthy sensation into the body connected to the ground. So hopefully we feel a little bit more connected, and a little bit more grounded. And we'll start to stretch the fingers and toes. Let the wrists and ankles join in. Take a little bit of a deeper breath and then stretch it out. Draw the knees carefully into the body for that last little hug. And rocking or stirring the hips, whatever feels good. And we'll just roll gently onto the right side, use the hands to press into the floor. And use our way back up. Come into an easy sitting posture. Nice little stretch of the spine. We go out through the neck and then bring the hands in towards your heart. Taking a breath in. Exhaling, chin drops, eyes close. As the belly draws in, we allow a bow to form in the spine. Dropping ourselves towards the floor. The breath comes back in and builds the spine. The head lifts, the eyes open. Namaste. Have a good day.